hands up if you are or know of someone who is a family carer. Keep your hands up if that was part of the plan. It wasn't part of my plan either. Oh, no. I was 23, an emerging leader in government. I was going to have a baby. Husband was going to stay home. I was going back to work full time. Live happily ever after. The end. But it didn't happen like that. Matt was 4 weeks old when I took him out for the very first time, and I was visiting my work friends, showing him off. Wonderful. And then I got the call. And I dropped. Cystic what? 27 years? I was 23 years old when I had him, and our lives changed forever. What followed were appointments and language I didn't understand, relationship breakdown, heartbreak, a fractured professional career, frequent, lengthy hospitalizations, and I'm talking 3 or 4 weeks at a time, 4 or 5 times a year, year on year. Conversations that were had with medical professionals that you just shouldn't have, no one should have to have about their children. Countless friendships lost, celebrations missed out on, pills for this, syrups for that, and nebulizers galore. And life as we knew it was never to be the same. Whilst it was all overwhelming, you know, we found our new normal. I found my new normal because I was then a single mum with 2 children. But to truly be able to support my family, particularly Matthew, and really understand what's going on and how to be able to make informed decisions, I had to research and I had to learn. I didn't even know anything about the human body. You know, I researched and I asked and I listened, and I enrolled in education just so I understood what was going on, how I could make decisions that were going to make sure that he had a better future. One of the most challenging things for a carer is to be making decisions for their loved one and you don't know how that's going to impact the rest of their lives. But I returned to work and things were kind of in flow as much as they can be. And we found a new normal, so I thought. But I was wrong. I'd been really trying to look after myself as a 33-year-old. I was incredibly unhealthy. And for the first time ever, I went interstate with my friends to have a trip away, and my mum was looking after my children. On the second day, I got the call and I dropped. And I had to do a mercy dash back to Adelaide. And I didn't know what I was walking into and if he'd be okay. And when I eventually arrived and I looked at his broken body, I just was so grateful that he was alive. An acquired brain injury, a fall 5 metres from a tree, where he sustained a fracture from front to the back of his head, what I call a shatter fracture, if you like. He had a depressed fracture, fractures through his spine. He was broken, but his spirit was very much alive. And there's your perspective. As much as I had this future that I thought was all planned out and that he was going to die at 27, nature came in and just changed everything in an instant. For the last week, I've been really reflecting on what the most challenging parts of being a carer has been and is. And I have to say that navigating systems and advocating and learning how to advocate is probably the most challenging and exhausting part of being a carer. Whilst you can't take away any of the tough stuff and you care because you love, it's having to navigate systems and speak a language that you don't really understand, and to have to fight and to work out, and you get mixed messages all the time. It's the system that is exhausting. Having to remember everything and repeat everything over and over and over again and constantly be on high alert, it's exhausting. It's debilitating. And as incredible as the CF team at the Women's and Children's and the Royal Adelaide Hospital and even the NDIS have been, the re-traumatisation of storytelling over and over again must change. The fight and the justification to get basic services is soul destroying.
Oh.
And at the time of Matthew's accident, I was working hard on my health, as I said, and I am a living statistic. I was burnt out. My health was exceptionally poor. And between what had happened with Matthew and what I was going through, I decided to make changes, because I firmly believe that we can either complain about a situation or we can do something about it and be the change. After the accident, you talk about perspective, everything changed for me. And I mean everything. I left my secure job, left my marriage, and I retrained as a fitness professional. This was after a year's worth of rehabilitation with Matthew, intensive rehabilitation, not something that I would wish on anybody. And so I moved into the fitness profession, but it wasn't something that was really conducive to our lifestyle and Matthew's needs. But around the same time, it was the first time that I realised in all of my years of being a carer since Matthew had been born that I was a carer. So this is 15, 16 years down the track, first time I realised I was a carer. And I wondered, how can I give to people and help people so that what we've been through isn't in vain and they can perhaps do things a little bit tough? And so this is where Carers SA came in and supported me, going from someone who has a lived experience and taking that lived experience and marrying that with my professional experience to then become a lived expert, if you like. And so therefore I developed a range of services that would support carers to look after themselves. I built an online community. And this business, it was a hobby at the time, but it was a transitional business into what was the carer's place. I built this support coordination agency that focused on an entire family unit as opposed to only the person with the disability, making sure that families, siblings, and carers were connected in with the supports and services that they needed. Something I'm super proud of is the first 3 employees that I had were carers as well. They hadn't worked for 10 years. They didn't think, like me, they had anything to give or that they were worthy. And I took them on and I nurtured them and I trained them. And now they are leaders in this industry in a range of vocations because I gave them a go. I also held NDIS industry events. What I really wanted was for this industry to be able to understand the plight of families and understand not only the person with a disability, but what goes on in the family home and how we can support entire families. So I brought people together to learn, to connect, to grow, to leave us with a sustainable sector. And it's one of the things I'm so proud of and so grateful for Carers SA backing me when I wouldn't even back myself. Now, my caring role hasn't just sat with my son or my two sons. It has extended to my stepmom, who lives in rural South Australia and who was diagnosed over 10 years ago with breast cancer. She had no idea about the health system. It extended to my dad with heart issues and lots of other ailments. It's extended to my staff. It's extended to the families that we've cared for. And last but not least, my girlfriend, my late girlfriend who passed away last year. Other than the care and love that you give as a carer, I think one of the most beneficial things that I've been able to give the people that I've supported and around me is this ability to be able to navigate complex systems like health, like education, like the NDIS, to be able to understand and distill the information that's being shared to them and help them understand in a meaningful way so they can make decisions best for them. And I think that's what every carer brings to the people in their circles. So we do it for love. But gosh, I wish caring had a different name, because it isn't lovely and it isn't soft and it isn't just nice. And that's what caring sounds like. Caring's not glamorous. It takes grit and inner strength and courage and conviction. And it means leaning in when all you want to do is just bloody run away. So when you look at carers and what they contribute to our economy and to our community, please remember the cost. There are so many polarities, too many to mention, that being a carer brings. And in amongst the tough, there's so much positive. And if you have a look at this slide, it clearly demonstrates the two very different sides, yet both equally as powerful and as impactful on one's life. For me, the depth of going from overwhelming grief to a deep sense of gratitude that I have the privilege to be able to support my family is something that I can't describe. The simple thing is that if I wasn't a carer, I wouldn't be here today and I wouldn't be able to do the things I do and have had the impact that I've been able to have over the last almost 24 years. What a privilege. So it would be remiss of me not to mention a few topics that I would love to see policy change on and policy action around. You've seen through my story the value that a carer builds over years and years of their lifetime caring. But what happens when a person's caring role changes or stops? What then? When I started my business, it was driven by my own belief system that I wasn't smart enough, that I didn't have any skills, and who on earth would want to take me on with all of my baggage? Clearly not true, but it was my truth, and it's the truth of many, just like me. So this is important. Let's move beyond awareness into action. We need practical supports such as domestic assistance as standard. In our systems, in our health system, in our education sectors, we need the integration of mental and physical health and well-being as standard. That is, pathways through these areas on diagnosis and beyond for family carers. We have disjointed systems, and I would love to see this change. It hasn't changed since Matthew was first diagnosed. It's exactly the same today. I would love to see formalised skills recognition for carers. They build so many skills. I mean, for me, I did everything from drawing Matthew's medications up into his IVs, to troubleshooting IVs, to talking to a range of different specialists and coming up with care plans. What they do and how they navigate systems, it needs to be recognised. And further from that, we need a skill development pathway. We need people to be able to train and extend their skills and transition, just like me, from lived experience to lived expertise. That is, alternative pathways to employment, so that people have hope and can contribute and feel great about themselves. We need superannuation paid on the carer payment. And look, even if it's fractional, I estimate that I have lost over $500,000 on compounded super alone. I'd love to do a comparison with my old buddies from TAFE, because I reckon it's a whole lot more. Systems like health and NDIS and care in general have people share their story every single time, every single detail, at every single meeting. And it is traumatizing. We need to change this. Something has to happen. Please. They're just a few things, but less hoop jumping, that'd be fab too. But what about Matt? I'm sure you're wondering how Matt is and what's been happening for him. Well, 3.5 years ago, he was the sickest he's ever been in his entire life. He was gravely unwell, spiraling quick. He was in hospital more than he wasn't, and we didn't know how long we had. And this had followed years of isolation and withdrawal from any kind of supports. Matthew had nothing to get up for in the morning. He'd lost all hope. And the complexity of disability and mental health and the impacts of that on his physical health are clearly evident. It was a terrifying time. But I couldn't have more gratitude than for these two things here. 3 years ago, Matthew was granted access to Trikafta, a medication that was made available on the PBS. It has literally saved his life. He's not spent a day in hospital for cystic fibrosis since. Between that and the NDIS and the gradual yet intentional supports we've been able to access between the two, Matthew has this whole future that he never dreamt possible, and so do I. It's quite overwhelming. Last year, he was able to go on a Starlight Wish and hike the overland track. 8 days, self-sufficient, with his brother, who carried his pack for kilometres on end, just so Matthew could complete it. He's gone from having no hope, not being able to talk on the phone, not being able to catch public transport, having everyone tell him what to do and how to live his life, having no friends and being largely incapacitated, to now having gotten his say. He's self-directed in most aspects of his life and he navigates independently. He has a girlfriend. He has friends. He's volunteered with Operation Flinders. He's got his driver's license and a car, and he's just about to finish his training for individual support so he can move into part-time work as a support worker, helping people just like him. And he's now sharing his story to help others understand what he's been through and how they can help people just like him. So When you invest in carers, you invest in all of us. They're the backbone of our society. Carer, you are, know, or will be one. Thank you.